Good morning everyone. My name is Sarah Doherty and I am the Marketing and Events Coordinator here at Hornbill. I would like to welcome and thank you for joining today's webinar, where we will be having a presentation on simplifying the challenges of modern ITSM with Stuart McCready, Sector Manager, and Steve Boardman, Product Manager here at Hornbill. Just to confirm, Delegate Auto will be muted during the presentation to help facilitate flow and timekeeping. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the GoToMeeting questions facility on the right-hand side of your screen. We will collate questions and answer them at the end of the presentation. Thank you for taking the time to attend. I will now pass you over to Stuart and Stephen.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Stuart McCready from Hornbill. I'm one of the sector managers here, and my colleague Stephen Boardman, who's going to be doing the interesting part of the demonstration. I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes explaining some of the challenges about implementing modern ITSM that we've come across over the last few years. So, as I say, some of the key challenges associated with modern ITSM rather than the traditional old-style on-premise scenarios in the past. So what we've done is we went out and spoke to a lot of people over the 20 years of our experience in this marketplace, and some of the things that have come back have been the challenges they've found, not that we've just made up, is the ability to do upgrades. Upgrades become expensive, they are time-consuming. The longer you leave them, the wider the gap is between what's available in the product and what you've actually got. So what tends to happen is that you pay for support and maintenance over all these years and you never actually take any updates or actually apply them because it becomes difficult and time consuming, and you may not have the inclination or the technical ability at that time. So this is some of the information we got fed back. Coupled with that, customization is inevitable in any tool set. As much as they can be out the box, they're very rarely are they 100% fit. Some are just nearer 100% than others. And obviously the further away you go from the out-the-box solution, the harder it is to support, and the upgrade question kicks in again as previous. What we also find is that traditional tools, sometimes you need to re-implement all your customizations rather than them just flowing through with updates and upgrades. Also, traditional tools, even some tools in the market today, very complex. It means that people really need to be trained on them. They're not that intuitive, and you should be able to walk up to any tool like you would do on your mobile phone today and use it as an app rather than having to be trained for weeks on end. So all these things add complexity. They all actually add cost to things as well. So everything we've talked about is, you might have a powerful solution, but the usability is not great. If you think about traditional help desk tools, service desk tools, you typically have to go outside of that tool to communicate with your colleagues. What I mean by that is the emails might come from the customer. They'll be sitting in an inbox somewhere. All the knowledge that you need is in someone's head rather than in the tool. So traditionally, help desks are very good at managing a ticket, but all the other stuff that goes around it is not always with that ticket to give you that added information. So typically generating management information can end up being difficult in that situation. So hopefully you can see that there's quite a lot of complexities that we've discovered in talking to our customers and other users of other tools. All of that, funnily enough, adds up to a higher total cost of ownership. So, there are hidden costs. There's a constant requirement to drive up productivity and deliver a better service, but all the things we spoke about in the last few minutes kind of work against that. You spend a lot of time internally worrying about the infrastructure, upgrading the tool set, and it's typically, as it says right in the middle there, and I'm sure you know that IT tool sets are probably the last place, or one of the last place, that internal investment may occur. So there are complexities, there's cost involved. So what have we done about it? So, well, yeah, it's nice to say we did have this light bulb moment. It wasn't just as simple as that. There was a lot of work going on behind it, but we decided that the light bulb moment is really about collaboration and people working together and actually learning from each other. So what we did is we built a platform which is based around a collaborative approach. If you're used to using things like Twitter, Facebook, you'll be used to seeing things pushed at you. Information that's prudent to what you do in your role will be pushed out to you on something like this news feed. So you don't have to go searching for that tacit information. And the idea is that we've actually built a whole collaborative platform, and what you can see on this emulation here is effectively different apps that can be run against that collaborative platform. Now we're going to focus very much on the top right hand box on the top tile, which is Hornbill Service Manager, and that's what Steve's going to demo shortly. But you can see there's other apps there that you can subscribe to as you go on, and you know, download things, and the subscription will start automatically if it's something that's appropriate to what you want to do in the business. So coupled with that, we've looked at how we can use that technology to collaborate efficiently in your businesses with each other. So the idea is to be able to do that globally, to be able to share knowledge and ideas with each other inside the tool set, to be able to work anywhere in the world, and hopefully with an end goal of boosting that productivity that you need to basically help resolve your customer issues quicker and more efficiently. Coupled with that, it's all cloud-based. There's no on-premise scenario at all. You don't need to install anything. You can access this in any time zone, anywhere in the world, and as you can see from something like a tablet on the left, an app on your phone in the middle icon, and just from a browser on the right-hand side. We have native apps for iOS and Android. So again, the agents and analysts can do quite a lot of the work they need to do out and about from their mobile phone. Coupled with anywhere in the world, also any language anywhere in the world. So I don't speak these languages, but I guess that's what it's saying. You can actually come in here in your native language, work in your native language, and there's an online translate functionality, which means that other agents or analysts can actually benefit from input from other agents anywhere in the world in that language and translate it into their own language on the fly. So very, very collaborative way of working, and this will come out in the demo. So I very quickly mentioned the difference between tacit knowledge and explicit knowledge earlier. Now tacit knowledge is the kind of information that sits in people's heads, the stuff that's outside the tool traditionally. How do I do this? How do I do that? Typically you would ask your colleague that question, he'll give you the answer, and it stays in your head hopefully, but also in your colleague's head, but it doesn't get shared with anyone else. The ability within Service Manager and this collaborative tool is the ability to share that tacit knowledge, hence all the little cogs jumping around and staying in the tool. You also have the ability to do explicit knowledge, which is the ability to build different document libraries. So not only can you share information between yourselves tacit-wise, but you can actually build proper libraries with documents in there that people can share and learn from and benefit, again, with a goal to help productivity and resolving customer issues. So we talked briefly about the fact that it's SaaS, it is in the cloud, there's absolutely no on-premise scenario. So the thing here is it's a service rather than the traditional software approach. Still obviously using software, but it's not something that's on your site. The idea is that we continuously deploy updates as a service. So what that means is you don't have any more of the upgrade scenarios that you would have had before. You don't have to pay for them. It's all part of the service. And we manage that back end. So you don't have to plan for upgrades, when you're going to take the live system down, when you're going to deploy from test to live. That's all done on the back end, and they're all automatic. You don't need to worry about that. Coupled with that, you're always going to be up to date with the latest features. So anything that comes out that we deliver, probably 3 or 4 times a week, we're delivering updates in an agile methodology. They'll be pushed to you, to your instance. Again, you don't need to think about it. No service disruption. Your customizations also keep on working, so you don't have to deploy these again. So really, you're always going to be on the latest version of the application, and you don't have to think about it. All you need to think about is managing your customers and supplying service to them. So really, that's all I'm going to say for now. I'll jump back later, but I'm going to hand over to Steve now, who's going to show you the interesting side of stuff with the demo.
Thanks, Stu. Good morning, everybody. So as Stuart said, we're just going to spend possibly about 20 minutes, 25 minutes having a look at Service Manager, and we're going to do that in the context of our end users to get a feel for their experience. We'll have a look at it from somebody that's providing that support or an analyst that's involved in delivering that support, and also the type of information that we can get out from these types of solutions. So first and foremost, we do have a self-service portal. Stuart mentioned it's all cloud-based. We do support transparent single sign-on. We use SAML as the protocol for that, typically using your AD as an identity provider or another directory service. The portal is brandable, it's customizable, and that's all done through the admin tool. And it will actually provide each of your end users with a personalized, tailored experience based on the services that they're subscribed to. So what we're looking at the moment is the portal from Service Manager. I'm logged in as a particular user. I'm in as Steve Robinson at the moment, and here I can see all of the services that I consume, and whether that is traditional IT services or whether you're using this across facilities, finance, HR, whatever it may be. It's a consolidated single place to go for your users. This is equally at home if you're looking to use this from an external support perspective, and each of the external customers you support would obviously only see the services that they're subscribed to. But as a user, I can navigate through and I can favoritize services that I use most often. I can see where I have active requests logged against my different services, and I can also see services where the service provider, i.e. IT or say facilities, have flagged that service is either currently impacted or degraded. But if we take a typical scenario that we might have, we can come in here as Steve, and Steve might be working from home and he might be struggling to connect to the corporate network over his VPN, so he might come in here and he can see that his home working service is actually marked as impacted. We can drill down onto that service and we can see any bulletins or information that's been pushed out. We can see if there are in fact any known issues, any problems or known issues that have already been raised that the team are already working on. We can see here whether there's a workaround that might allow Steve to self-help and move on. Perhaps there is a known issue but there's no workaround, but there is a very simple and intuitive way for Steve to associate and notify the problem team that he is also affected by this issue. Simply clicking on the Me Too adds that user as an impacted user automatically. They don't have to raise a repeat incident. The problem management team don't have to go looking for those repeat incidents to associate them to the parent problem. And it also means that Steve is now in the communication chain going forward for when that workaround or any further updates and eventual resolution to that problem is identified. But let's play this scenario out and say, actually, well, there were no known issues. Is there any information, any FAQs or useful snippets that might, again, help Steve to self-help? And these could be embedded videos. We can see how many times they've been viewed and how many times they've been marked as useful. Or they could be simple text and instructions in terms of how-tos. But again, let's play the scenario through and say there's no known issues, there's no FAQs that are going to help Steve. That then brings us on to introducing our request catalogue. And these request catalogue items are specific to each service that you offer, and they're completely definable by yourselves. So on here I can see that I've got options to maybe request a callback with one of the guys in the team, maybe schedule it at an appropriate time to call back. Maybe I want to actually schedule the installation of the VPN software, which isn't set up at the moment, or I may simply just want to notify the support team that I'm having an issue with the VPN access. Now all of this is done in non-technical terms. There's no incident service request terminology that's used here. All of that is under the hood, and we'll see that shortly. But from an end user's point of view, these are the options I've got available to me, and I can simply come in and provide the information against the questions that are asked. So I'll just put here, the user is unable to connect, and this introduces our progressive capture approach, where we're simply asking the customer one question at a time, decision tree based, branching based on the answers that have been given. And here I can say I'm having an issue from my laptop at home. Simple as that, a couple of questions, nice and clear. And at the point that I've then raised that, as the end user, I can get immediate confirmation that that request has been raised, the visibility of the questions and the information I've provided, but also a graphical heads-up display which is showing me the fulfillment process that the support team will be following to resolve my VPN issue. So all very nice and clear. Now that's great if you know where to go and where to start to look for that support. But in a typical environment, you might have 50 or 100 services, you might have hundreds of different request catalog items, you might have hundreds of FAQs. So it's very difficult for the user to know where to start. So what we've done here is provide a federated search bar across the middle, which will allow the user to simply come into the portal, and type in what they're actually looking for. This is then going to return the results. So it's going to show me any known issues that might help me. It's going to show me any FAQs that I might want to take advantage of. Or if I want to go ahead and actually report an issue, it's going to show me the catalogue items that are specific to that search term. And if we just change that up for a second and say, okay, well, perhaps I was looking to request a new mobile phone, or I needed a new one because I've broken my old one. What's the company policy regarding the mobile phones? Where do I go to actually request a new one? It's all very simple and intuitive. And one of the key advantages of having this search bar is that we record all the search terms so that you can, through the reporting, actually look at what are users actually looking for, what are the search terms that are being used, and that's going to help you to find the information, the FAQs, the request catalogues that you actually want to promote out there. Okay. So with all that in mind, let's step back in now and have a look at Service Manager from a service owner's perspective or an analyst point of view. So I've just logged back in here as Graham. He works in one of our support teams. Now Graham will have got notifications about that incident that we just logged there, so we can see that's been routed to him. And he can pick that notification up through the web interface that we're seeing at the moment, or we can pick that up on the native iOS and Android apps that Stuart mentioned earlier. And of course, he could also receive an email notification if that is your preference. So we're just going to come down and have a look at the services that were being provided here. So we'll have a look at our services option under Service Manager, and we'll drill down here into my home working service. This is where we're going to come in and we'll do all the configuration and all the options I'm sure you're expecting to see. So, what is the name of the service? What status, portfolio status does it sit in? Who's subscribed to it and how are they subscribed to it? All of that is completely configurable by yourselves. Which teams support that service? And this is really important when it comes to who can view this service on their request list, who can we assign tickets between when tickets are raised against this particular service. All that's important. We can see who the owner is, we know it was impacted, we saw that message on the portal. But this is where we're going to come in and we're going to do things like form design. If we've got specific fields that we need to add to our incident form when we're raising tickets against this service, we can define our catalogue items here, and we can do the same for any of the request types that we have. We can come in here, and this is where we're going to set those bulletins up. We can come in and create our FAQs, and we can do that in multiple different languages. We can see how many times they've been accessed. We can also look at actually how is this service provided to our end users and our subscribers. What assets or CIs actually underpin this service? And doing that, we can actually then explore that service and have a look at this information graphically. So here I can see not only the CIs that underpin it, but the tickets that have been raised against that service. If I want to reduce down the noise a little bit, I can certainly remove the request from there, and then we can start to have a look at all of the different relationships. So here we can see that we've got the bidirectional relationships. We can mark those as being relationships of any type that you want, and you can define the different levels of impact that are available on that service. Okay. So with that in mind, let's come back and actually have a look at an area that's perhaps a little bit more familiar. That's what I use is working from a request list, a traditional landing point, if you will, for our analysts. And the key thing here is that each of the analysts that are accessing Service Manager and have access to the request list have access in context to the rights and roles that have been assigned to them. So when Graham, in this occasion, looks at the request list, he can do so based on any of the teams that he's a member of, because he can be a member of multiple teams. He can look at all of the requests that belong to any of the teams that he's a member of, and if he's got the rights to work with instance, service request problems, etc., those icons will be visible. If he didn't have the rights to work with change, he wouldn't see the icon. But here, if I want to, I can very quickly and easily say, show me all tickets that have been logged against any of the teams that I am a member of. We can also then quickly come in and find information that we're interested in using this multifunctional quick filter on the left-hand side. So if I wanted to see everything that was VPN related, I can just type that in. If I wanted to see everything that my colleague Brian was working on, again, I could use that same filter. Or if I'm on the phone to a customer and I want to see what Anna's active tickets are at the moment, again, I can do that from here. As well as providing those kind of, if you like, default options out of the box, we also provide each analyst with the ability to create their own views. And they can do so without having to have any back-end knowledge or technical understanding of the database that underpins this solution. So they may, for example, want to come in and create a high-priority incident view. And to do that, they simply come in and use the clause builder, where they can come in and say, okay, the priority is X and the status is Y. And if I wanted to make these high-priority incidents just relevant against one of the services that we support, I can come in here and just say, okay, well, I'm only interested in the desktop support high-priority instance for argument's sake. That's on here. So it's very simple and easy for me to do that. But one of the added benefits of actually creating those views is giving each of your analysts the ability to create charts that are going to be published on their own personal dashboards. Okay. So on here we can see that we've got multiple charts that are running against this high priority incident view. One of those is showing me those high priority incidents by team. Another is looking at it actually by owner, or where the owner isn't set. We've also got one that's looking at it by which sites are impacted by those high priority incidents. But if I wanted to create a new chart to go onto my portal here, I might just create one that's looking at which of my customers are actually impacted by this. We'll do a preview of that. Now we can see here that actually there's quite an even split between Steve and Anna and Steve that have got the most high priority instance out there. And if I then choose to save that and mark it as visible, if I come back to my request list, I can simply toggle between that traditional request list view and my own personal dashboard, where I see all the charts that I've created that I'm interested in. And because it's my dashboard, I can move them around, I can make them longer, etc., etc. And the good thing here is that all of those charts that you've created out of the box support drill down capabilities to get you into that underlying sector on the chart. And from here I can drill into the tickets, or if I so desire, I can come in and export the data out and choose what information I want to take with me. Okay, so nice and intuitive for the users to use. And they've also got options like which columns they want to show, the order they're in, etc., etc. But at this point that leads us quite nicely into actually how do we go about raising the requests. Well, we've already had a look at how the end user would do that from the self-service portal. We also support 3 other options. The first of which is that we can raise the request manually, which we'll have a look at in a second. The third option that is available is that we can integrate with your email, with your mailboxes, so we can both manually pull those emails into a mailbox. You can view them from here and choose to raise a request if appropriate, or we have an email autoresponder capability which will allow the automatic creation of a ticket from an inbound email based on rules like what's in the summary or the content of that email, or what domain has that email come from. All those rules can be created. The fourth option, which we won't look at specifically now, is the ability through our published XML APIs for you to raise tickets from third-party applications. Okay. But just before we go ahead and raise the requests here, there are 2 really key aspects that underpin how Service Manager works and how it provides the business process automation. So I've just switched to the admin tool here, and I'm just going to have a look at 2 key concepts for you: business processes and progressive capture. Now, business processes are completely concerned with the fulfillment side of your tickets, and these can be one and many, and we do ship with out-of-the-box example, instant, problem, change processes, but we also give you the ability for you to come in, edit those ones, or create your own. And if we take a typical example here, we've got a change process that's running multiple stages. It's all built graphically using this drag and drop canvas. It's key that it's not prescriptive. We're not making you change your processes to fit this tool. It should be about you using this tool around your processes. So when we say not prescriptive, we mean things like if you're running an instant process, that you don't have to use service level timers if you don't want to. Or if you wanted to use a fix and not a response, it's entirely your choice. Or you may decide that you might want that response to start at a particular point and for it to be marked at another. All of that is configurable within your process, as is the ability to set up human tasks, authorizations, automated tasks, email notifications, decision points, nodes. There's a whole tranche of options that you've got available to you in the process. And again, it's very easy to build, edit, and visualize the flow through that process. If we're coming back though and having a look at the other option here, which is our progressive capture, when we look at the progressive capture, this is all concerned with the logging experience in the first instance. And we had a brief look at that through the self-service portal as an end user. The key challenge that we're looking to address with our progressive capture is the one that we associate with the more legacy type service management tools, where in a traditional tool, should we say, if you were going to log a ticket, you'd normally be presented with a big form with lots of fields on it, almost a spreadsheet on steroids, if you will. And that couldn't be more different to what you do in your own personal life if you were looking to book a holiday online or you wanted to take out car insurance. If you went to any of those websites, they would simply guide you through a series of questions, decision tree based, that would collect that information, and at the end of that process you've booked your holiday or you've taken out your car insurance, whatever it may be. But it's simple and intuitive. And all we've done here, again through this graphical designer, is give you the ability to ask those questions, which are denoted by these blue nodes, and depending on the answers, it's going to branch accordingly. So if we were logging a desktop support issue, it's going to ask me things like category, priority and assets. If it was a finance question, we'd have gone a completely different direction. So let's have a little look at that in operations. We come back to our analyst view and we have the ability here to go ahead and raise a request. Another key attribute here is the fact that we don't actually have to make a decision about whether we want to raise an incident or a service request at the point that we pick the phone up and we're speaking to the customer. What we can actually do through the raise new is actually gather the information and then make the assessment as to whether it's an incident or a service request, which will hopefully reduce the amount of incorrectly logged tickets or the need perhaps to back out of the conversation and ask the customer to repeat it when you go into the correct form. So in this example here, I'll just use myself as the customer. We'll pull up the information that we know about Steve, job, title, where he resides, and then the first thing we probably want to ascertain is actually what is Steve calling about. Is he looking for an update on an existing ticket? And if he is, then the information is there for his current active tickets. If he's not and he wants to log something new, then what services does Steve actually take from us? And against each of those services, what catalogue items have we predefined? You know, is he looking to report the fact that he's got an issue since his operating system is upgraded on his MacBook, or any of those types of options that you might want to make available? Or you might want to keep it really generic and just say, actually, I just want to say desktop support is the service, and against that service I want to then start to capture the information, which will then lead us to where, what type of request it is. So let's keep the theme going here. We'll say it's a VPN issue, it's unable to connect. And we'll go through and collect the data. So do I know enough now? I know who I'm speaking to, I know what they're calling about, I know the service it relates to and the information they've wanted to give me, to now know that it's probably a break fix issue rather than a request for something or a change, for argument's sake. But if, for argument's sake, I happen to have gone down the change route, you'll notice that the progressive capture takes me in a direction where it just needs a document or an optional document to be added and then it's going to finish. However, if I go back up and I follow the incident path, it's now asking me the instance-specific questions that were configured in my progressive capture design, and I'm just going to put on here a VPN access issue. Maybe I'm going to make the submitting of a priority mandatory or not. It's entirely up to you and your design. Maybe I want to associate one or multiple assets that we know the user has got with this request. But on doing so, everything is validated on the right-hand side, and I can then go ahead and raise that request. Once that request is raised, all of the prefixes that you use are entirely up to you. I'm just using IN on this occasion. But when we go in and view the request, the first thing that we see is a graphical heads-up display in the same way that the end user saw this, which represents to the analyst and the team that are working on this ticket what's happened, what the stages are, and what needs to happen next. In this example here, an email's been sent automatically. It's been assigned to the first line team. The priority has been picked up as set, because we did that in progressive capture. But now what it has done, it's taken me in context on my action bar to where I need to actually take ownership of this ticket within the team. So I'm going to go ahead as Graham, and I'm going to take ownership here. Now in doing so, it's marked that checkpoint as being achieved, it's moved the stage on, and in this particular example, it's created an activity for maybe the owner of the ticket, a team, or a role to maybe do some investigation into the issue. Now there's a lot of manual options that also sit alongside the automation that we've seen here, and these can be things as simple as just putting updates in and making them customer facing, or they could be the ability to come in and cut and paste screenshots that could be the error, and having these recorded in the ticket as well. All of those updates then get added into the timeline, which is your audit trail for the ticket, and we can see here all the images appear in line, so I don't have to click through each entry to see what's happening. Other options you've got, and I'm not going to go through all of these, are the ability to schedule callbacks and have reminders for that, the ability to drag and drop attachments, to look for and search and find related tickets. So if I wanted to see if there was any other VPN tickets that are in play at the moment, I can do so. And there's obviously quite a few here, I think there's 30. But if I want to narrow that down to say, actually, I'm only interested in problems that are still currently open, I can do that search again. There we go, my results have narrowed right down. I can now decide if I want to link my incident to that problem. I have on this occasion, and as a result of doing that, that problem had a workaround. That workaround then gets added to my incident. I can review that workaround, and if appropriate, I can then accept or reject that solution appropriately. Moving on and looking at the other options, you can change the customer, you can add connections, etc., etc. All those options are available to you. Now I could go ahead and complete this activity, and it could stop the time or move it into a resolve state, fire off an email. All of those options are there. But we started by looking actually, how do we marry collaborative technology with service management functionality? And a couple of really good examples here are the ability to follow this ticket. So if I've moved this ticket on, but I'm still interested in what's happening with it, I can choose to follow it and I'm going to get updates to my timeline. I could assign the ticket away. I could create tasks for other teams. Both still very valid options, but what I could also do here is actually decide to parachute in or drop in subject matter experts as and when I need them. And I can add these as members. So if I go ahead here and add Rosemary as a member to this particular request, what that will do is give Rosemary visibility of this ticket. She'll get notified, again, through a mobile or through the web client, and she can come in here and see what assistance is needed. Now, perhaps Rosemary doesn't have the rights to look at my tickets or my queues or my team's tickets. We can actually elevate her rights just on this, just for this particular request. But at the moment, we haven't really sort of informed Rosemary of the help that we're looking for. So here I can go in and I can see that I want to mention Rosemary. I can see she's off at the line at the moment, but when she picks this up, she'll be able to assist. So I can mention her here, Rosemary, say, can you look at a look, please? And we can push that out. And again, she's going to pick a notification up in the same way as before. So that's really sort of an introduction to the instance side, but we can, if we want to, raise new problems, no known errors, or maybe raise a change off the back of these instance. And in doing so, we can go through and follow different progressive captures that are specific to this particular service. So in this occasion, I'm going to go through and I'm going to answer some standard questions. I'm going to fill in a custom form that I've created. Let's say multiple users are affected here. On my assessment, I think it's low. All this is really just information for the change team who are then going to be picking up this change request. So again, once we've raised that ticket, we've got a CH for change on this occasion, and we drop in and look at this particular change. We can see a completely different fulfillment process that needs to be followed. And I'm not going to go through each of the steps for today. I'm just going to go through a couple of them to get us to a couple of points that are on here. So the first thing we might do here is actually create some tasks for that change team, and we might have, is it a valid change to even spend any time on? Do we want to record the time that we're spending? Do we want to push the information or that time that we are recording into one of our other apps, on this occasion our Timesheet Manager app? But here we can see the customizable outcomes, and I'm going to say, yeah, that's a valid request. Maybe we've got things like impact assessments that need to be performed. Again, you can set your own options. I'm just going to move this one through as low because I know it's going to bypass the need for a backout plan on this occasion. But what it has done then is move me through to a change point where we've got multiple approvers or options that are on here. Now, the reason for getting to this point was actually to introduce our boards feature, and this is a feature that's used by maybe a change manager or a service delivery manager or the management team generally, where actually we want to create a different view as opposed to a request list. And from a change management standpoint, what we're probably interested in is actually a bird's eye view or a helicopter view of all the changes that are in flight against your change process at any given time, and where they sit in the process, and which of our analysts or change team are actually looking after those changes at that particular point. So here I can drill down and just look at all of Rosemary's changes. I can then, if I have a look at the cab here, I can see that change that we've just raised here, the VPN issue, has already made its way across to being with the cab. And that's because our business process tool can automate the movement through the list that you've defined based on those tasks or other actions that you've completed, which means not only is it a helicopter or bird's eye view, it's a real-time view for the team that are looking at this. Now, it can be used for change. It could also be used for looking at, for argument's sake, where your problems and known errors are across your features. You'll notice here as well that Harry Hornbill's just popped up here to let me know about a new feature. Stuart mentioned at the beginning that we follow a continuous deployment methodology. And this means that we are pushing those features out on potentially a weekly or more than once a week basis. And this is a way of us communicating to you without you having to read lots of manuals about the new features that we've got. So we'll push that information out in that capacity. So problem management might be another use, or if you're using incident management and you've got SLAs running and you've got escalation actions such as assignment or reprioritization or just notifications, you can also use a breach board where you can have these incidents automatically being promoted onto this view when they're going to breach today or in the next 2 hours or next hour, whatever that may well be. But if we come back up to the change management board and go back into that change that we were looking at, I'm a member of the CAB, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to approve that one, and we're going to move it forward on this basis. And the reason to do so is just actually to introduce the collaborative side of Service Manager again. So I'm going to come back up to my newsfeed that's on here, and we can now see that as a result of approving that change, this change has actually been pushed up to my newsfeed. I've got visibility of that. The reason I've got visibility of that is because I'm a member of a particular workspace. And you'll see on the right-hand side here that I'm a member of multiple workspaces, things for change management, problem management, major incidents. Here I can see there's actually notifications about new posts in the major incident workspace, and that's all to do with the notifications that I'm interested in. So if I drill into that major incident, I can see here that we had a major incident reported. That was 4 days ago to do with our exchange. Actually, fantastic, it was already resolved, so I don't need to worry about that and I can move on. But the idea of the newsfeed is about pushing information to you that's specific to you that you're interested in. So Graham's going to have a different view and any other analyst would have a different view. So here I can see changes, I can see major incidents, I can see updates to tickets that I'm following, I can see documents that have been shared with me, I can see, excuse me, I can see questions that have been asked, a variety of information specific to what I'm interested in. So as well as having workspaces for sharing information, it also comes back to the concept of the tacit knowledge that Stuart introduced earlier. So that's really about trying to take the conversations that exist by the coffee or the conversations that you might exchange via email out of that environment and actually capture them in the tool. So have those questions, have those discussions in the tool. And the benefits of doing so means that that information is captured and it can be reused. So we have a look at an example here. We might have a first-line FAQ workspace where we've invited the members of the first-line team or second-line team or specialists into this workspace. Anyone in that workspace can then come in and pose a question. Maybe my customer's having this issue, I've never seen it before. Then your colleagues can come in, because they've been notified, and they can provide answers. And again, they can do so in their local language. Stuart referred to this translation tool provided on the platform. And that's great, because I can see what Pablo and Pierre are providing. But equally, my colleagues can vote on the questions that they've asked and the answers that are provided. And here I can see that Pablo's answer is probably the one I want to use. And that's fantastic because it helps James and his customer in the here and now. But using the global search bar at the top, if I want to go looking for anything to do with our VPN software going forward, I can go in here and I can look for any of the posts, any of the questions that have been asked. I can narrow it down and say, actually, just show me anything that's been posted in the last 6 months since we did the upgrade on our VPN software. Or just show me stuff that Rosemary's posted and actually the expert. Well, do you know what? Just watch that particular workspace. That's the interest. We get our relevant scores, we see the question, we see that Brian's provided an answer. Again, we've had validation from our peers and colleagues that works, and I can happily go ahead and use that information. Now, Stuart was absolutely right. It's not just about tacit knowledge. We also need to capture explicit knowledge, those FAQs, those how-to documents, or those process documents. So again, using our document tags here, we can go ahead and look at our change management document. If we open it up here, we can see who owns it. We can see that it's up for review at a particular point. It's in the libraries. We've attributed particular tags to that. That document has also been shared with colleagues, and it can be shared with colleagues before we publish that document. We can give them the rights to edit and work on that document. If we are working on that document, we can keep full revision histories of that document. There'll only ever be one version of that document in circulation, and again, that looks to address issues we've had where various versions are floating around on the network shares, not knowing if I'm working on the correct one, or if there's a document being passed around by email, am I working on the latest and up-to-date version of that particular document? All those issues and challenges go away by having that document and management control in here. Obviously, when we're ready to publish that out to the wider community, we can move it into an active status and move it out into the library to make it more widely accessible. Now, document manager, as we see here, and configuration manager, we looked at earlier, timesheet manager, application, are all just examples of line of business applications that are deployed on the platform. They all exist and can be used in isolation, but when they're installed together, that's where we start to use the plugins and add value. Other examples of features that are provided on the platform are activities and tasks in any of the applications deployed, and you can do those with one. You've also got instant messaging and conversations that are provided on the platform and allow you to have those more private conversations that are not needed actually in the workspace. But with all that information in mind, and just to wrap up, the last thing I'm going to do is come back and look at, well, if we've got all that information, how do we get data in? So we're going to have a look at our reporting capabilities. I'm just going to go into the admin tool here, just remind you that we have the analysts personal dashboards that we looked at, which are designed as a very simplistic way of taking data. But we also then look at our enhanced analytics. This allows you to leverage the trending engine that's running against the platform. That trending engine allows you to build measures. And measures can be anything as simple as how many incidents are we resolving on a daily basis, through to what's our average resolve. And we can set those measures up, have them automatically collecting that data on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, whatever your preference is. But the key thing really is to set targets for those measures and then see how you're performing against those measures. What does the trend look like? Are we doing okay? Are we still in the acceptable threshold, or have we got a problem that's just around the corner? And once we've got those measures, that's fantastic, and we can visualize it again. But what we can then also do is consume them onto widgets, and we can then put those widgets alongside traditional charts and lists and counters onto role-based dashboards. We can share those dashboards with individuals or groups. And perhaps the quickest and easiest way to visualize what the content could look like is by actually showing you our slideshows. Now, our slideshows are the ability to actually daisy chain multiple dashboards together and have them transitioning through in 1 minute intervals. Perfect for displaying on those big screens around the office. This just gives you a feel for the type of output you can expect to create when you're designing your own dashboards. So it can be metrics, it can be information about your knowledge, what FAQs are being looked at, what search terms are being used, what's not being looked at. It's entirely up to you the type of information you're interested in. Okay, so at this point I'm just going to hand you back to Stuart, and he's going to sort of summarise on some of the non-functional benefits of working with Hornbill.
Great, Steve. Thanks very much. Very informative. Thank you. So moving on from that, other things to consider are you've got the tool. Why choose Hornbill as a business? Well, we've got three very key things that we like to stick with. One is our customer first ethos, and basically we couldn't have got anywhere around building this tool the way we have done without our customers. So a lot of the feedback and input in this new way of working is coming from our customer base. So that is the key thing. So we like to think, and we do treat our customers very well. So everything we do is with them in mind. Secondly, it's not just about throwing a piece of software at people and hoping it sticks. It is about collaborating not only through the tool, but with these customers as well and internally. So everything we try to do is partnership based. So very much an ethos of partnering with our customers to build on what I said, to get the best out of that relationship and improve the tool set for everyone. Finally, quality not compromised. Now, we do deliver on a Scrum and Agile basis, but that is all hopefully driven by quality, and hope from what you've seen in the tool that you get an idea that it is a quality looking piece of software. And these are the three main things we live by on a daily basis. So we're not trying to deliver a tacky piece of software that has to be quality. So that's our kind of internal ethos. The other things around there are how do we give benefit back to the customer? So we've done something slightly different. How do we implement Service Manager in this platform? We've kind of turned the whole market on its head really, and what we want to do is actually give you a risk-free ability to trial this in a proof of concept at no cost. So effectively you're going to get a 30-day satisfaction guarantee that you can put us to the test. Not just us as a company, but obviously the tool set as well. So what does that actually mean? So, we're trying to not just let you take our word for it. You will get three, you'll actually get 3 times 10, you'll get 30 days of free service. So what you'll actually get is an instance which is yours, which you can run with for 30 days at no cost whatsoever. On top of that, we also give you your own product specialist. So effectively you've got 30 days access to your own services person. So you've got 30 days of services, no configuration costs here, it's all free. And it's your own dedicated product specialist to work with you through that 30 days to effectively get your instance from an empty instance to a pre-production system. You can test it with your data, with your processes, get to the point where you think it's the right thing for you, hopefully. I'm going to come back to the free training in a minute. At the end of that free implementation stage, you have a simple decision to make. accept or reject effectively. If it's the right thing for you, you can subscribe then and carry on paying for it, or virtually handshake and walk away. No hard feelings. You know, we're not holding you to anything. We're giving you a free implementation and concept. The added benefit is that free training. We don't charge for any training either. So effectively, through that 30-day free implementation, on a knowledge transfer, you will get your admin up to speed on how to actually admin and run with this actual product. So moving forward, not only do we do that free implementation, what other things do we give to you as a benefit? And again, we think these are quite unique, if you like, in this marketplace. So I'm actually just going to build up and talk about it. So effectively, top left-hand side, we've discussed this already. It is a service, it's not software, there's nothing for you to worry about on your infrastructure. We manage the whole service for you, so all your customizations will keep working, you'll always be on the latest version, and no service disruptions, no more pesky upgrades, if you want to put it that way as well, because we do all that, and you don't have to worry about downtime. Something, again, totally different. Yes, we're a software business, and yes, we probably will increase our costs as time goes on, but for you as a customer, as a subscribed customer to Service Manager, you will continue to pay what you jump on at, if I can put it that way. So what you sign up to today is the price plan you pay forever and a day, as long as you've got an ongoing subscription. So what that actually means is you increase the price year on year, you still pay what you paid from day one. So, you know, hopefully if you're there long enough, you'll get automatic discounts effective inflation. So that's nice. Not only do we give you free training through the 30-day switch on, if you look at the bottom right panel, things change, people leave, they get promoted, you're sort of expert in the tool, your go-to person for anything to do with Service Manager might not be there anymore. So rather than charging you to retrain somebody, we decided that we'll do that for you free of charge. We'll train a replacement, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, so you'll always have a solution champion, you'll always have somebody there that's going to know how to hit this instance and this product. The reason for that is it's more cost effective for us to do that than it is to sort of harbour calls for people who were the best will in the world don't actually know what's going on. So it's an investment on our behalf, but it actually works. So we want people at your site that's going to be a champion for this product. And then finally, the real key thing is a lot of vendors out there in the SaaS market will lock you in for 2 or 3 years and basically try and figure out exactly what's going on with the contract. We don't do that. We don't actually bind you in at all. You've got a simple rolling contract. You've got the ability to terminate at convenience effectively. So what we're saying there is that we're not going to lock you in. You can run this product, and if you get to the point where you're not happy with it, you can terminate it, no charge, and that's fine. Okay, so that's what I was going to speak about. These are the sort of subtle differences that we provide as a vendor to you. How much does it cost? That's a fair question. It's a transparent pricing plan. It's basically geared around having various users, so it could be small teams, larger teams. It's a simple per user per month price, which basically starts off at £4.50 per user per month. Now, what happens there is, the more users you subscribe, then the cheaper that user becomes per month. So effectively, it's a built-in volume discount, effectively. But it is a subscription, no tie-in, as I said before, you can subscribe for as long as you use the service. We've tried to keep it as simple as we possibly can. So that's all I was going to cover. Steve's obviously covered quite a few things in the demo which I hope were useful. I'm not sure if we had any questions coming in. Steve?
We've got a couple of Steve. We'll just apologise, it might have been a bit of an echo during the presentation. We do have other recordings of it. It's been too problematic for you, but just to cover off on some of the questions that come up. Here, someone's asking, obviously, it's an office-based solution. Where are our data centres located? Maybe one for me on there. The data centre is also based in the region where you're a customer. So if you're customer in the UK, certainly in the EU, so your data is secure, your backup. In fact, the data in the UK, the European region. If you're a customer in the US, Australia, data centers in those regions. Another question here regarding assets and imports. So we've referred to obviously CIs and assets being managed in Service Manager. There are various ways that you can get CIs in. Someone can sit there if they want to and work them in manually. That option is available to you. It's preferred. Second option is using CSV imports. Definable different CI types to bring in. Or the third option, which is generally the way people go, is to import those CIs on a scheduled basis. We have a utility that you would run locally that would map up against ECM, Landesk, or in fact any MySQL, MSSQL backend database. Do we have mapping locally and then securely use our APIs to push that information up to your instance or whatever we so design.
Thank you, Steve. But one final question that usually does come up, and it came up again, funnily enough, was can you really get this up and running in 30 days? You know, people ask us all the time, and the answer is yes. Effectively, it's a well-trodden path. It's a 4-week program of very specific activities that our product specialists go through with you as a customer. Week 1, X, week 2, Y, and it's designed to take you from beginning to end very efficiently. And probably 95% of all the people that subscribe to that trial go through to actually become valid subscribers people on the instance. So it does work. It's not something that we've done lightly. It's a well-trodden path that actually gets you success quite quickly.
Absolutely, Stu. Again, as with any of these, plenty of customers you can speak to, that process. So I encourage you to speak to us and
So that was it. No more questions, I don't think, anyway. So I'll hand you back to Sarah.
Thank you, Stuart and Stephen, for taking us through that presentation. I hope everyone found it useful. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to contact me or your relationship manager. Finally, thank you everyone for your time today. Goodbye.